Our topic today is turn your large distributed team into a smooth running agile machine. So we are going to talk about large and distributed team today and how to make agile work for those kind of teams. High level agenda, the points that we're going to touch upon is what do you mean by large and distributed team? How? So let's define them. Let's have a kind of a be on the same page. What are the pain point or challenges? How can we overcome that? And then some of the aspects of managing or leading those teams, governance model, social contracts. What should be the end-to-end development process? What kind of collaboration tools that the teams can use to overcome some of the challenges? And so those are the kind of things that we'll be talking about. And for some of you who are joining for the first time, we do it every first week of Wednesday at noon to 1 p.m. Central Time. I saw someone joined at 11 Central Time. So it's actually 12 Central Time. We usually specify that in our email. I also saw somebody joined it yesterday. So so just please see that date and time, and so you are not disappointed. You come here and we may be on another call, or we may not be having the Zoom meeting running, and you get disappointed. So it's usually on Wednesdays, 12 p.m. Central Time. So let's get this conversation going. That's how I start all my webinars. What is your expectation? What questions do you have? Basically, why you are here today. I know many of you attend webinars to join PDUs and gain some knowledge, which is great. But is there any specific reason why you are here for? You can use the chat, the Zoom group chat. What are your expectations from this webinar? Saeed Kamal, I know that name. I think Saeed, you have attended several of our webinars. Interesting topic. Yeah. From Scott, tips and tricks to use this on. Okay, very good, Scott. Very good. Anybody else? Jennifer, my team is all domestic, but we collaborate with that of the offshore. Okay, very good. So that offshore team is kind of remote. Okay, David, wanting to compare notes versus prior experience. Very good. So I have been in Agile world for over almost about 15 years. For almost about 3 years, I have been doing Agile coaching at IBM. I'm an enterprise Agile coach there. We have been implementing Agile in various teams, small, large, distributed, sometimes co-located, for software development, for not software development, any kind of situation that can think of. And you all know that IBM is a very, very big organization, and it has its own challenges and uniqueness. So implementing Agile there is not an easy thing, and I'm applying all my knowledge and skills there to help those teams, and also learning from there. So that's great. And other than IBM, I have been helping many other customers all over the United States and Canada to help them with their Agile transformation, with their project management or project delivery. So those kind of things, very exciting. I love it, what I do, and I enjoy it. So some of the things that I want to share with you, our next 2 webinars. So the other is coming up on April 3rd, and that will be through projectmanagement.com. So to get to the wider audience, I use that platform. And all my webinars there, I have done so far, I have done 3, almost about 2,000 people attended my webinars, each of the webinars. And normally they have to close the registration much before the date. So if you are looking to attend that webinar, that is a very interesting topic, again, from Agile perspective, how in-house IT teams are structured and what is the best way to move on your portfolios. So that will be something if you're interested. And then I recently started hearing quite a bit about Scrumban. And so I thought, let's have a webinar on this topic, and let's have a conversation on a Scrum, Kanban, and Scrumban, and so get some clarity on what are these and where these things work best, which one works best. So those are some, a couple of interesting webinars that are coming up in next 2 months. We have several PMP classes, BA classes, Agile classes, and our PMP test simulator, we added a couple of hundred new questions to that. We keep updating that. So if anyone is preparing for PMP, it is a very good simulator. You can try it out. And then if you want to earn some PDUs offline on your own pace, or you want to learn things, then we have the videos. Okay, so let's talk about large distributed teams to Agile. So let's define them. What is the team size that I feel is large, and how do I define distributed? So in Agile world, I think if I have a team of more than 20 people, I will call it a large team. Usually Scrum recommends about 9-10 people team. So you can apply the same practices even if the team grows to 15-20, but after that those same practices may not be applicable, and you may have to start thinking something different. So if you have 30 people team, if you have 40 people team, 50 people team, 100, 200, so I took a number like that's where, in my view, that's where the differentiation starts, like the number 20. Okay, and then distributed. So distributed means that all the team members are not co-located. So that is what I will call as distributed. So one of the examples that what Jennifer was talking about, that they have an offshore team. So at least they have, that is, their distribution is limited, but still they are not at same place. So I will call it a distributed team, because some of the challenges of other teams, they may be facing the same challenges. And sometimes the team are actually distributed in multiple time zones and multiple locations. And I usually deal with such teams. One of the teams that I am coaching now is they have team members in every continent, starting from US to Europe to Asia to Australia, everywhere their team members every year. And you can think of how difficult will it be to implement Agile practices, a very simple Agile practice, something like daily stand-ups, which is just 15 minutes kind of a thing. It's very hard. So how do you do that? And I figured out things as we experimented, and these are Agile teams, so we experiment. We experiment, do retrospectives, learn, improve. That's what agility or Agile is all about. So let's see. Let's do a survey, and I will start this survey, and you will see the survey on your screens. So I have just launched this survey, so you should see this survey on your screen. So which of these challenges do you see on large distribution team? So let's see. I'll give you maybe about 30 seconds to fill up this, and you can take as many as you see. So I've started seeing some of the responses have started coming. Yeah, about 10 people have responded so far. Let's give another 15 seconds. Very good, very good. I see a lot of engagement here. Yeah, some more people. Yeah, very good, very good, very good, very good. Yeah, I think let's keep them coming. So another 5-10 seconds. So a few more people have not voted yet. I have 69% people voted so far. So there are some still thinking about it. So if you want to go ahead, you have another few more seconds, and I'll end the poll. Okay, so let me go ahead and end the poll, and let me share the results. So everybody should see the results. So as you see here, managing time differences seems to the top one here. 83% of you who voted, they believe that managing time difference is a very big challenge, very big challenge. And then comes coordination, collaboration, managing cultural differences, building infrastructure, and so on and so forth. So those three on the top, managing time differences, managing cultural differences, and coordinating and collaboration is something. So one of the questions here is, wasn't sure what building infrastructure means. It means that every team needs an infrastructure on which they can, develop. So the development environment, test environment, production environment, code, source code control. So that's the infrastructure, the kind of work that the DevOps people do. So that's that's a lesson for us. I'm seeing a couple of questions here on the chat asking about what does that mean. So next time when we do with this webinar, we are going to change that question to something that is more easily understood. But that is the meaning, that the teams, any team that does any development work will need infrastructure. So is that building in and using infrastructure, is that a challenge for distributed team? That was the meaning, but we'll reword that question. Okay, very good, very good. Let's move on. Let's move on. So how do we overcome these challenges? We saw the challenges related to the managing time differences, managing the the cultural and other things. So let me go back. Coordination, collaboration. Those are the kind of things. So one of the things that I have seen work well is splitting the teams. So if you have 30, 40, 50 people team, then of course you cannot have one large team for Agile. You have to split it. And we'll talk more about splitting. So you can split the team by geography, time zone, culture, and all those kind of things. Think of having different squads in different countries, for example. Okay, so different squad. I'm using the word squad. Squad means the smaller teams. Normally, squad is used for one single team. So when you split that team, I'm calling each one of them as a squad. So those squads can be geographically limited. Like, okay, here is a team in US. Here is a team in Europe. Here is a team in China. Here is a team in India. Here is a team in Singapore, or whatever. So that one is very helpful. And the reason it is helpful is because then, let's say this is team in US, so the time zones issue is not that big, right? It's three or four different time zones that you have to manage versus managing 7 or 8 different time zones. If the team is in India, you just manage one time zone. It's easy to manage that. And similarly with culture, it's you stay within the same culture. So that's another part. People understand each other. People understand the languages, the different kind of dialects, different kind of accents. So I think that's one of the things that I have found to be very useful. Split team, not by technical capability, not by technical strengths, but by geography and time zone. Okay, that's and each squad I'm going to talk about in the next couple of slides. That when you split the team, then each team need to be able to deliver the functionality end to end. It should be a self-sufficient, complete team. So if we split that on technology, then that's not going to be a complete team, and you're going to do a kind of a relay race, pass on things from one to the other team, and that's where you will have a need for more communication. And if you have this kind of splitting, then you have less need for communicating across to the other team. Okay, and I'll show you the structure and how this looks like. And you can implement a what I call as governance model, and I'm going to talk about governance model means how the structure looks like, what the structure is, and how this is implemented. And then develop infrastructures, tools, system, processes, bringing in simple incremental improvement. And one of the things I'm going to talk about is what is the end-to-end process, right from the start to end. What is the process that should be documented, analyzed, agreed upon? So there is a complete transparency about what's going on. So when you have teams distributed, that level of transparency is very, very useful. If the team is together, they can talk about, what do you do, how these things work. It's very easy. But when the teams are distributed and large, that becomes a problem. Okay, and we split the smaller teams. So why splitting teams is coordination issues, which allow them to self-manage if there are smaller teams. And I was talking about what is the advantage of splitting them in by time zones or by countries or by continents. So how that is helpful. So some of these things are put here again. I will stop here for maybe for 15-20 seconds and see if there was any question related to how do you deal with this challenge and splitting of the teams. Are there any questions here? Or if you come up with a question later on, that's all right. That's all right, and we can do later. So let's keep moving. So why governance is important? So we talked about the governance part. So one was splitting the team. So that's great. Okay. Then how these teams will be governed? What is the kind of rule here? So more teams means more coordination. Okay. And it means they need more support and more oversight is needed. So because when you have multiple teams, then there has to be a way for them to talk to each other, communicate each other, exchange information among each other. So there may be a kind of rules of engagement needed. So it becomes a little bit more, a little bit more formal, not too much formal, but little bit more formal. And that's why you need some kind of a governance, some kind of governance, or I can also call them rules of engagement. So so when you have single team, single co-located team, the governance of that team may look like one you are seeing here, right? For an Agile or a Scrum team. So you have your business stakeholders that provide input requirements, and a backlog is created, and product owner owns this backlog, and he or she works closely with the business stakeholders, and then the development team delivers increments. They do the development work, and then you have a Scrum Master who owns the process, facilitates a Scrum, is a servant leader. We all know about this. Okay. So I wanted to put this in context. I say, okay, this is what looks like for small co-located teams. Now, when the teams become bigger and they may not be co-located, this may turn into different squads. And this is, I want to spend some time here because this is what need to be understood very well. So your business stakeholders are here. And then you have different squads, different teams, right? You have different teams. They are end-to-end teams. There's a product owner, there's development team, and there's Scrum Master with each team. Okay, and each team has its own backlog. You can see that each team has its own backlog. Now these teams are governed, who has the final say about the priorities in the product backlog. So there is a new role here, master product owner. So you have product owners here for each squad, and they prioritize their own backlogs, right? But who prioritize the master backlog? And the things flow from master backlog to these backlogs. So you need a master product owner which collaborates with customer and team POs. So this is a new role. And this role is very different than the role of a product owner. Product owner prioritizes and help with the team and works with the stakeholders and all that. But then when you have multiple teams, you need somebody else to come back and set priorities at the higher level. So master product owner is setting the priority at a higher level, setting the roadmap at a higher level. So he or she may be responsible for setting the roadmap for the entire product. And these teams are responsible for subsystems or modules or whatever you want to call. So these teams are, and then they are coordinating. Their Scrum Masters there, their development team is there. So most of the time they function as on teams. And think about if this team is located in US, this team is located in India, this team is located in Europe, that's okay. They most of the time they may not need to interact with other teams, but there may be people from here who may have to interact. So for example, the master Scrum Master, who is another role, which is a custodian of overall agile process across the teams. So the Scrum Master here is facilitating Scrum for this squad. This is facilitated Scrum for this squad, and their Scrum process may be different. The way they do their work can be different. But then here's the master Scrum Master who says, hey, this is the minimum kind of things that have to be done in the same way across all the squads. For example, matrix collection and reporting. Okay, so that is one of the things that master Scrum Master may come back and say, this is how it need to be done across the squads. And he works with the Scrum Masters in the different squad. He also works with the master PO from the requirements business side of the work. So master PO and master Scrum Master kind of form a team to look at the overall aspect of the product. And then PO and Scrum Master for each team looks at that team. And you have a master back, and then this DevOps, which is the team responsible for developing infrastructure, architecture, and all those kind of things, the build automation, the test automation, and things like that. So they provide and they support all the squads. So this is how you move from a small team. If you have a large team, this is how one way to organize the team, and this is how you govern the team. And you need two extra roles, master product owner and master Scrum Master. These are the new roles. Okay. Any question? I see a couple of questions here, which I will respond. There is a question from Siva, so I will come to that question. Siva, your question about can Scrum Master manage overall backlog? So first of all, Scrum Masters don't manage backlogs. It's the product owner who manages the backlog. Okay, and we'll talk more about your question. In the meantime, if you want to restate your question, I think that will be great. Scrum Master is not responsible for managing product backlog. Okay. Now let's move on. So what should be the process? Okay. So we talked about the governance structure. We talked about how the team should look like, how the team should look like. Now let's talk about how the stories or requirements move from start to finish. Okay, so you can see here there are two parts here in this end-to-end process. This part over here in blue is grooming activities. So where the requirements are coming into the backlog, and those requirements are getting prioritized, uh, and then after they are prioritized, they are getting sized into bucket size or t-shirt size, like small, medium, large. So that sizing is happening because by doing this you may reprioritize, and then they once they are small, medium, large, then they are again labeled as epic or a story. So maybe the small ones are labeled story, and medium ones and large ones are labeled as epic or whatever. And so they are epic, they are labeled here, and then the epics are broken into stories, and those stories are now prioritized. And now one important thing happens. So here is which squad is going to work on that. So this is another thing happens here at this stage, because the rest of the grooming activities have to be carried out by the people in the squads. Okay. So this is what happens when the squad is assigned. Then the squad PO may take over this, and maybe the squad BA and PO work on this. They add more details to the story, add acceptance criteria to the story, and then it goes, and then maybe the tech lead or architect or somewhere, he may do the technical design for that story or whatever changes are needed in the technical design, and then go ahead and estimate user story and story points. You need these two parts here before you can actually estimate story in your story points. And once this story points is estimated, then it is ready for the sprint. So this is all part is grooming before the story goes into the sprint. Now once it goes into the sprint, then it basically follows your usual process of development, code review, testing. And testing here, I said, included UAT, because some of the teams do UAT outside the sprint. And my recommendation is that once the story is complete, then at the end of the sprint, the story should be ready for review. And then after the review is over, it's ready for production. Nothing should happen to the story after it is said done or it is said complete. And then, after this is tested, it is review for done. The product owner comes back and checks on it and say, yeah, this looks fine. And then he is the one who marks it for ready for production. And at that stage, there may be other, decision making activities. I have not put those here. There could be other decision making activities that may happen. I see many times the organizations have security testing that happens after this, and they do the security testing. They may have other organizational level QA testing that may happen. So those are very dependent on the organization. If your organization has those, you can put those boxes here and then say put into production. So, but teams work ends once this is done. Now this ready for production, there's somebody else. Sometimes there is nothing, it goes in production straight away. For some organizations, there's nothing else. But some organizations have those kind of requirements to be met before the developed or fully developed story or the functionality is put into production. So this is another very important aspect. Actually, this is important for small co-located teams also. But the benefits are more or it is kind of required, something very, very much required for large distributed team, because every team need to follow this. So this part happening here, breaking into priority and assigning squad, may be done at a master product owner level. And maybe there are some selected people who are involved in that aspect of grooming. And then this part of grooming happens at the squad level. So maybe we should actually divide this grooming also into two parts. So one is that product level grooming or higher level grooming. And then this part here is the squad level grooming. So every squad need to know at what stage they have to pick up and then what they have to do. So there maybe these 8 boxes are for each squad. And then this is all across the squad, and this is all across the squad. So these are some of the things that each squad have to understand. They have to be on the same page. There has to be a transparency how the process is going to work. So one part is having the team organization or the governance, what we were talking about, 2 new roles we talked about, and then how the team is going to do the work. What are the different steps? So this is another piece that is very important when you think about managing large and distributed teams. So that is very, very helpful. I have found from my own experience, this is very, very helpful. Without this kind of an end-to-end process, there is confusion. There is confusion, and that confusion can lead to chaos. So 2 important aspects I just told you about is having 3 rather, split the teams, have a governance model, and have an end-to-end process. So those are the 3 things I told you about the large distributed team. Let's check on some of the other things before we open up for Q&A in a little bit. So I have some more things to cover. Now, the other thing that comes into play is very important is the social contract. Social contract is a kind of informal agreement, It is informal, but it is applied across the squad, and it's a kind of a sometimes unsaid rules, but team needs to put it together. And even smaller teams may have social contract. It's helpful, but it is very helpful for larger and distributed teams, because then everybody will know, okay, here is how the things need to happen. What are the expectations? And I have seen that many times. What happened, I was working with one team, and one of their social contract line was that don't schedule meetings over already scheduled meetings. So that was something that they said that sometimes people have 2 or 3 meetings at the same time on their calendars. So they came up with a social contract that if there is a meeting already scheduled, nobody's going to schedule over that. So they are going to talk to that person or whatever they do, but they're not going to do it, because that created more confusion, more chaos, because this person who has 3 meetings on his or her calendar at the same time, they don't know which meeting they are going to go until the last moment. Then the other 2 guys who schedule other 2 meetings are wondering if they are coming or not coming. So an example of the social contract, this is one of the examples here of the social contract, like values, honesty, integrity, sustainability. So related to that, what the team is going to follow. And then agreements, we will define and adhere to definition of done for everything that we deliver. So team is saying that they are going to adhere to definition of done. So that's a kind of a part. We will define time boxes. We'll respect each other's and our abilities to manage. So things like that. So this is one of the example of a social contract. So think in your teams, what kind of social contract will be needed for these teams to have transparency and teams to have higher level of collaboration. We talked about collaboration as one of the challenges. So how teams do that? So that's another practice, having a social contract in place. Okay, so that's another aspect that is very helpful in managing large distributed teams. And then of course you talk about the tools part. What team is going to use as communication. Many teams use email. Now I have seen more and more adaptation of Slack. Very useful. I have used Slack myself and I find it to be very useful. So people use email, people use Slack, Messenger. So team can decide which one is going to be our tool for communication, which is going to be tool for tracking story defects, epics. There are many here. that I listed, but there could be more. There could be more. What will be used for code management? What will be used for video conferences? Because when you have distributed teams, you need to have those video conferences. You need to have those, like are you going to use Zoom? Are you going to use WebEx? Are you going to use something else? So that's another point. And where the documents or files will be stored. SharePoint, Box, Google Docs, there's so many of those here. And what will be used a retrospective tool or collaboration tool? Mural is one of the examples. There could be other. So every team, and this is something that Scrum Master Scrum Master need to ensure that the team agrees on a set of tools they are going to use. It should not so happen that one squad says, okay, we'll use emails, the other says we'll use Slack. That's not going to work out. Okay, so that is something at the project level or the higher level that we need to decide what kind of tools we are going to use to bring more collaboration and reduce confusion. So that's another important thing that we need to think about when you have large distributed teams. Now let's do another survey. I'm going to start a new survey. And this is about the tools. So let's see what do you think about the tools? Which of these collaboration tools have provided you the best value if you used any of these tools? So about 30 seconds time, if you can if you can provide your input. Let's see what the group feels here. Okay, yeah, I'm seeing the voting has started coming here. Very good. We reached about 50%. So another 10-15 seconds. Let's do that. Yeah, let's more come. So we are about 62%. I need another 10 people to vote. Very good. Let's another 5 seconds. I'll give you another 5 seconds to respond. Very good. Okay, so we have about 70% people voted, which is great. So let me share you the results. Okay, so most of you said that Zoom or WebEx is the one that you find is the best value. And I agree with that. That's one thing that actually helps you to be, to talk to people in real time. And if you are using your video camera, then you can actually see the person on the other side or persons on the other side. That's wonderful. That's great. And then of course the people use Slack. So Slack is one of the things that people use. Jira, GitHub, similar tools. SharePoint, Box. Yeah, I've not seen many people talking about Mural, so that may be less popular. Okay, and then they have others. So some of you who have written others, can they share? Yeah, GoToMeeting. I see that GoToMeeting. Yeah, somebody's talking about GoToMeeting. Yeah, that's another collaboration tool. Yes, that's another collaboration tool. Anybody used any other tool? Skype. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Yeah. Ed is saying Skype. Yeah. Skype is another good tool. Yes, and it's a pretty good tool. Both of these GoToMeeting, Skype are very good tools that people use. Okay. All right. So let me stop. Azure DevOps. Okay. Yeah. Visual Studio, Team Server. Yeah. Erika, that's right. So yeah, basically the idea there is to have an agreement with the team what tool they are going to use, and it's important to have that discussion and decision. So there is a consistency in use of tools. Okay, so how do we know teams are getting better? This is always the question. How do we know teams are getting better? So you do all of that. And then how do you know they are getting better? So is the performance matrix, burn down, how the burn down looks for each squad, how the burn down looks for the whole team, right? So you need to track burn down, velocity, repair to build ratio for how much time team is spending in building new functionality versus repairing. or any other. Those are the three basic uh, kind of matrix that I recommend to be gathered at the squad level and also at the project level. And why I want to do at squad level is because if we see that one squad is doing better than others, then the other can learn what that squad is doing. Not that, not in a way to compete, but trying to find out, is there anything that they can learn from the other squad. So the matrix collection is important at the squad level and also at the whole team level. Okay. Uh, so in conclusion, managing large and distributed agile team is unique challenge. We talked about those challenges, and the strategies that help is splitting teams, creating squads, having governance in place, having process in place, having right tools for the teams. So there's a lot of work that is master scrum master and master product owner need to do. They have a very critical role in large teams. So if you do not have those roles in your large distributed teams, you are missing on something. You may be feeling the gaps there. Who is going to coordinate across the squads? Who is going to take care of the overall product backlog? Those are some of the issues that you may be facing. So that was that concludes my webinar. So about 10 minutes or so. So if you can write your questions, I want to skip through quick slides, a couple of few slides very quickly, and I will come back to the questions. So this is our next lunch and learn. That's planned for Wednesday, April 3rd, 12 to 1 p.m. It is now this is Eastern time. Make sure that you make a note of it, and it is through projectmanagement.com. So it is on Wednesday, April 3rd. That's the first Wednesday of the month. And don't wait because the seats get filled up very quickly there. And then we have on the backlog grooming, I touched a little bit upon backlog grooming in my presentation. I will be delivering a half-day class over the web on March 22nd. So we will go much more detail in doing the backlog grooming, how the backlog grooming is done, what are the different aspects of backlog grooming. So this is a half-day thing, and if you are interested to learn more about grooming, your business analyst, your product owners, and other architects and other people who are involved in grooming, it will be good orientation for them. And this is another thing that we have now, an agility assessment tool. It is a free tool. You can go to agility.refinem.com. There are quick 8-question test, and you get a bar chart results. And you can also send the email version of the result to you, and it provides you more insights. What are the areas where you are doing well or your team is doing well? What are the areas where team need to do better? And then there are resources how you're going to get better at those areas. And so this is something that I think anybody can do, and you can do it multiple times. You can do it today and take the score or the result, and then maybe implement some of the practices and come back and check it after maybe a couple of sprints and see, did you improve? So this is totally free. You can go there and check it out. I'll say that if you can do it today, and even talk to others who may be looking for something like this, we are actually developing a much more detailed version of this. So much more detailed version and much more comprehensive agility assessment, and that will consist of 40 questions. So if you are really serious about this, then oh, it is already closed for 3rd April. Saeed is saying that webinar. Let me talk to them and see if they can open up. But if not, then I will have something on my website. If you go there and find out that you cannot register, that gets filled up very quickly. Let me tell you that gets filled up very quickly. Okay. Now the next one, these are the videos we talked about, agile fundamentals, and then you have business requirement gathering video and test simulator. We talked about that, and this is how you can get one PDF. Okay, so take this, and you will get the slide deck. You registered for the webinar, so sometime today, I guess, you will receive the deck. And you don't have to come back to ask, how do I claim this? So we have to just put it a slide over there. You can go and claim. So now let's talk about questions. If there are any questions here, we have really about less than 10 minutes left. So I do want to address okay, so let's see what are the questions. I'm just scanning here. Would you recommend periodic meeting? This is Connie. Would you recommend periodic meetings with individual squad, SMs, and master to discuss? Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. You can also call this scrum of scrums, and that doesn't have to happen every day. It can happen once a week. It can happen a couple of times a week. Absolutely, you need to have that. You need to have the master, scrum master, and all the squad scrum masters get together. They may do, I also recommend, they may at the end of the sprint, after that, if they have a setup meeting, normally I recommend them to do at least 2 times a week. And then whenever they have their meeting, after the sprint is over, they can use this as a team level retrospective, not squad level, the entire project level retrospectives. They can invite other people to that retrospective. They can invite product owners and master product owner for that retrospective. So yes, they should get together. And one of the agenda for those meetings, how teams are doing, how their burn down looks like, what are the blockers at the team level or across the teams. Yes, absolutely, they should meet a couple of times in a week. What if squads are also distributed? Members of one squad are not co-located. Yes, so that also can happen. Now you need to see where do you want to stop and what is the happy medium. I will not say that you should have a squad for each person. That's not going to work out. So what is that minimum that you can, and also don't try to have too many squads. Like, the ideal size is about 9-10 people in a squad. If you have a smaller squad than that, maybe 5-6 people, but don't go crazy and have a 3 people squad. So for a 30 people team, you have 10 squads. That's going to create more problems than solving the problem. And if for the same squads, the people are distributed, let's say, for example, you created a squad for US. Okay, it's all right if people are distributed within US, because they can still have the same time zone, similar time zone, if not exactly the same. They still have the same culture. They can still collaborate and coordinate much better. Similarly, if they are all of them are in China, or they are in China and India, for example, or they are in India and Singapore, okay, or they are in different countries within Europe. No, so that's okay. That's okay. Try to create a squad that is end-to-end, that can deliver end-to-end functionality, that can be put in production. Sometimes there could be a dependency of what this squad is doing on the other, which is fine. You cannot absolutely have a situation where what squads are producing will not be dependent, but try to minimize it. So there is no need for intra-squad coordination of so much. Okay, so that is what need to, and it's something that is you can do it, experiment it, learn it, and change if something has to change. Okay, so Mike is asking about what if the squad, yeah, that was the question for Mike. So I just so there is another question here. I think that Bala has asked, what is called overall structure process? It looks like safe. No, it's not. It's not. This is very different. Safe is very, very formal, and Safe has lot of other um, roles. It's much more complicated than what I'm telling. So my governance structure and overall end-to-end process, what I showed you here, is much more simple. Now, I see sometimes people with 50 people team try to use Safe, or 100 people try to use Safe, and that may be an overkill in my personal opinion. Safe is good if you have a really big, large team, like more than 100, 200 people. Uh, I don't know how Safe addresses the distributed team aspects. It addresses the large team aspects, but it may not address the distributed team. How do you divide these different Scrum teams or squads? So it doesn't address explicitly the distributed aspects of the squads of the teams. It does address the large, and I think implementing Safe for a 50, 60 people team is an overkill. There's a lot of training the people have to go through, a lot of new roles and things like that. Not required. Not required. That's an overkill. If Bala is here and he's listening, so that's my thought, and those are my views on that. And then let's say Mustafa is asking about any advice or models for team building for distributed teams. So team building activities could be, I think one of the things that is helpful is sprint and playbacks. That's an excellent team building activity. So where each team can come and show what they did in the last sprint, what they delivered in the last sprint. And if it is possible for the master product owner to talk about, these teams have worked all of this, now we are putting this feature or function in production, as a result of this. I think that will be an excellent team building. You cannot take them out and have fun, they can have those things within their squads because they may be co-located or near located. Okay, but the team building is also about learning about the team, learning about the other team members, and seeing what they have done and doing the kind of a cross-pollination or collaboration. So I see that. And also I think if there is a team level retrospective where maybe it is done once a month or at that frequency, where everybody is invited. So that could be another one. So there could be ideas, there could be more, but those two came to my mind right now. So Saeed, that is what I will say, that some of the things you can experiment. Okay, so I guess though I went through all the questions in the chat box, we can open the microphones for maybe a couple of minutes. If anybody if there is not a lot of noise, then we can have people talk. So there's one more has come up here, William. How can manage the synchronization and integration if you are the master, Scrum Master, and split the team in squad, but you only can assign a team member to be a squad SM? Okay, let me think about what you're asking, William. And if you can speak, I think that will be better, William. How can manage the synchronization integration if you are the master Scrum Master and split the team in squads, but you only can assign a team member to be the squad Scrum Master? So are you saying that one of the team members is the squad Scrum Master from that? That's all right. Should not be a problem. That's not a problem. So you are having one team member is playing the dual role. He is playing the role of a team member as well as a Scrum Master. Absolutely all right. If they can do that, so he or she can do the Scrum Master responsibilities for the squad, and then they come for scrums and coordinate with the master scrum master to make sure that things are consistent across the squads. That, yeah, that can work. I've seen that many times. So you don't need a full-time scrum master for each squad. One of the team members can play that role. Sometimes I have seen that if the teams are like 6 or 7 people each squad, maybe the same person works as a scrum master for more than one squad. So that also is so different permutation and combinations are possible. Okay, we are right at 1 o'clock. So if there are no other questions, we'll stop here, and you will get the slide deck. And I will, I look forward to for you to join me in April on the next webinar. And if you are not able to join, not able to register, send an email to us at trainings@refinem.com. We'll try to figure out how to help you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.